Hey, let's talk about stories, right? Well, we all have those stories that we say, oh, we'll never tell. We'd end up telling them anyway, right? Oh, maybe just one time. Sometimes we end up telling 5 times. The story we'll never tell, right? And then there's the stories that are funny. We like telling those, like making people laugh. And then there are the serious ones, the ones that tell a lesson. I hate those. Well, anyway, here's one that has all 3 of those things. So here we go. During the Civil War in Mozambique, it was pretty terrible. It was a horrible, what war isn't horrible? There were a lot of internally displaced people, and there were a lot of people that were refugees flocking to other countries. A lot of them were flooding over to Malawi. Now, they were settling on land that the Malawi government had long-term leased to Greek tobacco plantation owners, right? Well, the Greeks were great. They had beautiful homes. In one place, they had this home that was pretty much a stone's throw from the refugee camp and to our refugee relief nurses, who were popular guests of the Greek guys. Hey, who could fault that? So anyway, I was the lone sanitation guy working in the camp, and I tagged along on one occasion. So when we went to the refugee camp, I can remember standing on the veranda of the house that was beautiful. It was great. This house was wonderful, and it was just up the road from the refugee camp. And I could hear a sound of the murmuring of thousands of refugees. And at the same time, I thought to myself, I used to go to ball games. I used to go to Forbes Field, take the streetcar up, watch Roberto Clemente, the great one. And when we got into that ballpark, the sound of the crowd was like, and the sound of the camp was like, ooh. I had to really think about that one. But I sat and I drank my cold beer, and I looked out at the hazy refugee camp. And I sat there with the dust of the refugee camp on my shoes. Hey, well, I'll tell you what, the Greeks were so amazing hosts. They had wonderful food. They had, people, they had wait staff. They had great places to sit and to enjoy a meal with everybody sitting around this great big table. It was just fantastic by any measure. So we ate. We ate as much as we wanted, and we ate a lot. And we drank, and we drank as much as we wanted, and we drank a lot. And then we would dance around the table, Greek music blaring, laughing, and dancing in interminable indifference. But let's talk about that. How could that be? How could it be any other way? I thought to myself, there's a lot of refugee camps out there. There's a lot of places in the world where the conditions are even worse than here. But then I thought to myself, how many starving children does it take to see? How many? 1? 10, 10,000? Does it really make a difference? Because it brings out, we're confronted with our humanity. And not just with the love and forgiveness and the giving, but also the cynicism and the indifference that come along with being in a place where there otherwise appears to be no hope. It's the human condition. What does that make us? Does it make us people who don't care or can't understand other people's plight, other people's subjugation and misery? Or does it make us people who are just human and alive, that are in a place that's unimaginable? So I would think about these things, and I would think, I know that human suffering was like the dust on our shoes. It was integral to the human condition. But we all have a choice. Even in the most difficult settings, we all have a choice. We can choose to be cynical and irreverent and ignore the human condition, ignore the suffering. Or we can choose to be the antithesis of human suffering by being of service to others. Is that always perfect? No. We were being of service to others, and at the same time we were confronted. With our own ignorance, cynicism. How could you not be? I remember one time I was in the camp, and in Malawi there's a lot of peanuts. So they actually have there's peanut butter there. And I remember, we were staying at there was a mission of Italian nuns, and the nurses had their house there. And we actually had peanut butter, and so I put it on some bread, and I put it in my pocket so that I could eat it when I was at the refugee camp. So I got there, and I was hungry, so I tried to walk away from everyone to eat my peanut butter sandwich. And I was followed by children who were asking me for food, and followed. And I was hungry, and I was thirsty, and I started to curse those kids who were hungry. Get out of here. Leave me the hell alone. F yourself. What? I mean, what is that? What was that inside of me that actually happened? How did that happen? But that's just our being confronted with ourselves, with our own humanity. And it's not like we can't do better. It's like we can't be better. Just be a better person. Acknowledge the suffering. Acknowledge the intensity of the experience. The fact that we're just human, We're just human. So we have to look at that, and we have to say, okay, what is that choice then? And the choice is to not be irreverent or ignorant. But the choice is to say, look, even with all this happening, even with all this going on, I can choose to be the very opposite of human suffering. And I can do this by service to others. And that's what we were doing, service to others, the best that we could. And we were there. We chose to be there. So sometimes being that person who's the antithesis of human suffering, the very opposite of human suffering, it's sort of like reaching higher and higher and higher, hoping to grasp what in your heart you know to be true. And that is the world needs you out there. The world needs us out there. And you are the good in the world. And with all of us, when all of us, in ways large or small, choose to be of service to others, we can change the world.